I was impressed with Spurs. They're the first team I've seen that actually have a rest when they're defending. And what I mean by that is if they might try and close down initially, but when they realise they're not going to get possession, they just go back to a flat back five, a flat midfield four in front of them, and Harry Kane, drops a bit deeper. And they just rest. And if you're playing in front of them, and, Fulham did have a bit of possession, then they just let you have it. And they think, actually, we're not going to actually come and close you down until you get into our final third, but you're going to give it away eventually. And when the opposition give it away, then they spring, with the pace of Richarlison and Son on the left-hand side.
Almost like they're inviting a little bit of pressure.
Absolutely, yeah, but it's really interesting to watch because they never seem like they're at full stretch. If you don't switch to play quickly, like Fulham didn't, if you don't go from right to left very quickly and get wide players in, or if you don't go and put your centre midfield player, the number 10, which was Pereira yesterday, if you don't go and stand him just behind Bentancur and Højbjerg and in front of the back three, like Man City do when they bring a player and they put him in the middle of that defensive square. If you don't put a player there and you try and pass through them, they're just very comfortable. They're very comfortable. They just let you pass it in front of them. And the other thing I noticed with him, Sam, is we all know about their fitness, don't we? Everybody says, about the grueling pre-seasons that they have. You've got to be unbelievably fit. I think Ryan Sessegnon went and got his own personal trainer because he had hamstring problems, to make sure his core was stronger so he didn't put pressure on his hamstrings because he knew that he couldn't have that overload, of physical work. They are a big team. I know when I went through their stats yesterday, the two smallest players yesterday were Emerson Royale at right wing back, who's 5'11", and Ryan Sessegnon at left wing back, who's 5'11". Every other player is 6 foot plus. So they're a big team which is very mobile as well. So they're quite imposing.
I thought it was interesting that he made so many changes yesterday as well, Antonio Conte. I think it was to sort of reinvigorate the team, to get them going again. I thought Højbjerg was excellent in the middle of the park. I thought actually the second goal was really poorly defended by Fulham. They could have dealt with that a little bit better. And Richarlison was incredibly unlucky not to get his first goal. He hit the post. He had one disallowed. I mean, the technique for the volley to hit the post was pretty impressive, wasn't it?
Very much so. I think I'll go more into detail, about Richarlison, him individually. We're going to do a tactics board, aren't we, later on? But when you said there about Fulham, apart from the last 20 minutes, that's when they gave it a real go. And the game sort of changed when Marco Silva brought on Tom Kearney, brought on Dan James, to go out on the right-hand side. And Kearney went and stood in that central position, and he gave Spurs a few more problems. But you mentioned about Antonio Conte making changes. But the thing that's happened with this Spurs side is he makes changes, but it doesn't weaken the starting 11. Like Richarlison, obviously coming in from Kulusevski, then Sessegnon coming on left-hand side for Perisic. So I know he was sort of, was it on Friday, he had a bit of not a moan, but he just said Conte was trying to calm everybody down a bit. He didn't say we need another 3 transfer windows.
So you don't see them as genuine title contenders?
If you look at Liverpool now, and Liverpool struggling, there's no reason with Liverpool at their vulnerable moment where
Man City dropped points as well
exactly,
yesterday.
Yeah, where Spurs can't be challenging Liverpool for the next ones to Man City, because there's a belief, you can tell that every Spurs player is invested. Now, not they've got a choice, Sam, although you're Antonio Conte, because if you don't invest in him, then you're out the door. But you can tell they totally believe what he's trying to do. And they have spirit. They have a determination. If you look at their 2 draws, the Chelsea game, they didn't play particularly well, and they managed to get a draw out of that. That maybe wouldn't happen before Antonio Conte. They might have lost that 3 or 4-1. The West Ham game as well, they draw 1-1. So they can actually eke out points when they're not free-flowing. And as a gooner, right, the worrying thing for me is Spurs aren't flying at the moment. They're very they're stable in what they're doing. They very methodical in what they're doing, and they hit teams, say, on the counter-attack. But you wouldn't say they've hit their peak at the moment. They're just sort of bubbling along nicely. And without playing brilliant football and playing to their peak, they're still unbeaten. So if it was, I don't want to sort of dampen them down a little bit because they still haven't won anything yet, but they are obviously improving immeasurably. And you look at them,
are you worried about Son though?
No, do you know what? I'm not. I'll tell you why. Because watching him yesterday, he still kept getting in the right positions all the time. He should have scored maybe when he linked up with Harry Kane, didn't he? He had the chest and he hit the crossbar with his left foot. He was stretching a little bit. He had another couple of chances where he sort of snatched at him, but it's not through lack of effort. He's not hiding. He's not getting himself in the right position. So someone with his quality, I know that his shot conversion rate last season was 26.7%, wasn't it? Like winning the Golden Boot, and this season it's 0. But he only needs a goal, just to set him on that sort of road again. So I wouldn't be worried about him at all.
And I thought it was, the XG yesterday, 2.68, the versus 0.38, showing that Tottenham certainly had dominance in that game. So, look, I don't think it was anything other than a Tottenham victory for Antonio Conte's team that was ever going to be predicted in that match. But certainly, the way they've started, they look as if they're a sort of almost machine-like team to me, much more consistent than they have been over the last couple of years.
Very much so.
They're very much fitter as well, which is also very important.
Do you know what, Sam, they do really well as well? When they play the 3-4-3 system, the three up front, normally when you're playing three up front, the two on the right and the left, they go wide, don't they? Normally when you're playing the three. They don't. Richarlison and Son, they come narrow. So you play like three forwards, and then it's Emerson Royale and Ryan Session who become like the wingers. So Fulham didn't really come to grips with that because Richarlison, Kane and Son are in close proximity. And Kane drops deep, they both run beyond him. If Kane's the front man, then they'll come and play little 1-2s and link up. So what they do is they either overload your centre-halves, or that if you're playing three at the back, they match your centre-halves up. So Fulham didn't really combat that by putting maybe Harrison Reed just in front or Plenia just in front. And and with Richarlison, making his debut, people say you take time to settle in. He didn't take time to settle in yesterday. He looked like he was on the same wavelength of Kane and Son straight away.